Hi, I'm Rosie Bell with IMN, and I'm joined by Sarah Waymeyer, Chief Human Resources Officer at Insperex. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks, Rosie. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. So, Insperex were the official sponsor of our Future Leaders Breakfast this morning. So, what can you tell us about Insperex? You know, the kind of mentorship programs they have in place and how they're aiding future leaders at the company.
Yeah, we were so excited to actually have the opportunity to host that particular breakfast. When we think about really the future of our organization and some of our core strategy, it's impossible to think about how we move forward without thinking about the future leaders and who's really going to lead us into the future. We're really proud of our efforts around talent and development at Insperex. We spend a lot of time thinking about kind of the entire employee life cycle, whether it's how people come into our organization, how they develop during their time there, and really grow their career at Insperex. We're particularly excited about some of the stuff we do around our early career development. We are just in the process right now of launching a couple of new development programs aimed at helping some of our younger managers and leaders in particular, thinking through their own leadership style and what it means to be a leader in an organization, often a leader amongst peers. Often, as I think you know, in an industry like ours, we have a lot of player coaches. So you're having to both kind of perform in the same role where you're a manager and managing people who are often your peers. So we're excited to help those young people develop their careers and develop their own leadership style. So whether it's our leadership programs, some of our other core development programs, mentorship and sponsorship, we're excited about some of the cool things we're working on for our future leaders at Insperex.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds really exciting. So, thinking about team diversity, what are the benefits of this, but also maybe the problems of not enabling this?
Yeah, so the really cool thing about diversity, I've been in the broader kind of talent space now for, 10 to 15 years. And I would say within the broader financial services world. And if I look back maybe 10 or 15 years ago, you really had to talk about the business case for broad diversity. The great news is I don't think we have to do that anymore. There are so many studies, there's so much research that shows that organizations that have more diversity, that are bringing more diverse viewpoints, more diverse perspectives across so many dimensions, those organizations make better decisions. Why? Because they have different sets of people at the table to really discuss, to debate, to have good conversations, and to get to the right point. So it's great that we don't have to try to kind of make that business case anymore because there's so much evidence that points to the value of diversity. Now, the challenge, though, that flip side is when you don't have diversity. And look, the reality is in an industry like ours, it's probably not known as the most diverse organization, diverse industries. That said, so what happens then is you start to get a lot of stale thinking, right? You get a lot of group thought. You get a lot of people kind of shaking their heads yes, as opposed to challenging one another. And so that's the challenge that you have when you don't have diverse perspectives coming to the table. I think I was really encouraged to see at today's Futures Leaders Breakfast, when you looked around the room, there was incredible diversity. Whether we talk about ethnicity and race or, obviously gender, we had fantastic representation of women at today's breakfast. But we also had, people from a lot of different career backgrounds, which is important. There's so many great ways to think about diversity. And again, I was really encouraged by what I saw today.
Brilliant, thank you. Some really great points there. So why is it important in the first place that business is attractive to new millennial talent, Gen Z talent? Why should companies be focusing on this?
Yeah, as I think I started, it is so strategically important to be thinking about really where your company is going and who's going to help get you there, right? And if you decide, if you're not focused on your young talent, and when I mean young, I mean people in the first really 10 years of their career, it's so important for us to make sure, one, that they're broadly diverse, that we're looking out across, great, kind of looking outside of just narrow pathways and the old places that we've always looked for talent, but looking kind of at a broader perspective. But we really want to try to, again, to groom our talent from a younger point in their careers. Again, especially as we're thinking about leadership, right? Having people identify kind of their own leadership values early, because we know that creates just a broader runway for them, into the firm. Of course, I'm going to be biased. I have, my job is human resources. So of course, I'm going to see the tremendous value of people. But when you think about an industry like ours, it is all about the people. And so if you're not really, really conscious about how you're growing them, developing them, identifying them, then you're making a huge, huge strategic mistake.
Okay, fair point. So it's all very well, saying this, but how can we actually create opportunity for the next generation entering the industry?
I think so. One of the individuals who's here representing Insperex today, Christy, you guys will have the opportunity to speak with later. She is, I think, a perfect example about thinking more broadly about how we bring people into our organization or our industry, and how you actually groom them once you're here. So again, I don't want to steal her thunder. I'm not sure if she's going to speak about it, but I'm super excited because, one, we brought in Christy through an employee referral. Two, she came from very far outside our industry. The individual knew she would be a good fit for an organization like ours. Her cultural values aligned to what we stand for at Insperex. Again, clearly saw that she had great potential versus a salesperson, but very, very much outside of our industry. She joined our industry. She joined in one part of our organization and kind of a sales track in a very specific asset class. And a couple of years into her career at Insperex, we had the opportunity to actually find a new role for her on the trading side, right? So kind of moving from one core pathway in the sales channel over to kind of broaden her up to an entirely different part of our firm and industry. I think it's our responsibility to make sure that we're giving people, that we're not channeling people through narrow funnels, but instead giving them broad exposure. That's going to be what really helps ensure that we have a really rich in experience, rich in perspective employee base who can make very, very good decisions on behalf of our clients on a long-term basis.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for all those valuable expertise.
Thanks,
you.
Rosie. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. I'm now joined by Insperex's dedicated future leader, Christy Marchand, who is Assistant Vice President of Agency Sales and Trading. Welcome, Christy.
Nice to meet you, Rosie.
You too. So what about this professional landscape most appealed to you? Why did you join this space in the first place?
So I think, as Sarah mentioned, I started off in the wholesaling side. I did that for about 3 years, and I got a little bit comfortable. Something that I always try and remind myself is when you're comfortable, you're stagnant and you're not growing anymore. And right around that same time, a spot opened up on the trading desk for a different product, and I had no trading experience at that point. Very filled with a lot of self-doubt, but I ended up taking the opportunity. Very, very happy I did. And what I like about it is you start at zero every day, right? You can come in, you can have all the plans in the world of how you're going to do well for your company that day, but the market could be totally different, and then you just have to adjust. And then at the end of the day, you see exactly what your hard work did and what you did for your firm, quantified for you. And that's something that I really like about my role, that you're measured on a daily basis, and there's a lot of satisfaction that comes from that.
Yeah, nice. All right, so what has been maybe an unexpected challenge of entering the working world that you weren't expecting, and then how did you combat this?
The simple, most obvious answer would be the markets. So when I started, this was pre-COVID, right? Started trading, this was pre-COVID. Wildly different 3 years later than we were then. I traded through now a falling interest rate environment, so a global pandemic, Fed drops rates to zero, traded all the way through that, and now we're trading all the way back up. So Fed's now hiking rates, and being able to live through that, right? When you come into your role, you don't have any of your own experience to draw from. You hear through stories of your mentors. And I'm so grateful for the mentors that I have and who've been able to direct me, but being able to get your own experience and then draw from when Feds first hiked back in March of 2022 or when they first dropped back in March of 2020, having that own personal experience only makes you a better trader, only makes you continue to grow in your role. So definitely an unexpected. I don't think anybody could have predicted that that's what was going to happen in 2020. 2022 we knew, but we didn't know how the market's going to react to it. So, but we've been able to, when you are able to get through it and you continue to get through it, and then you have support from your mentors above you, again, a lot of satisfaction and a feeling of self-worth that comes from. So,
All right, so what are you most looking forward to on your career path then?
So I started in one asset class, obviously trading in different asset class. What I would like to see for 5-10 years down the line, what I would like to see is not being so tunneled into one asset class. I'd like to expand into different fixed income securities, mortgages, structured products, etc. And then also be able to sell, so that in different markets, different products are going to be good in those markets, right? And being able to sell in any type of market, I think, is only to the benefit of yourself. So,
Absolutely. Well, it's clear to see why you're your company's future leader. So thank you so much for joining us today.
thank you for having me.